So recently, I got a text from one of my coaching clients asking, how do I flirt and stay in my feminine energy? And I thought this is such a good question because as us women are healing and opening up to being more in our feminine energy, it kind of shifts the playing field a little bit. And when we go to start dating or flirting, or even if you're in a relationship trying to flirt with your man, it looks and feels a little different than when we were in our hyper-independent, more masculine state and not leaning in our feminine energy. And I think it's because women were taught to approach flirting like it was performance. We see in these movies and even online in these television shows where women are always performing, like there's some kind of script to follow or this perfectly executed plan or this need to kind of control the outcome. And the moment that we do that, we actually lose our feminine energy entirely. So today I'm going to talk about what feminine energy flirting can look like for you as a woman wanting to flirt with a man, whether it's in person or through text. Welcome back, guys and gals, or welcome if you're new here. My name is Jess. I'm a relationship coach, and I help you become the woman who naturally attracts the relationship and life you desire by raising your self-worth, your feminine confidence, and your standards so you become a natural match to the love and life you want. So today we're talking about how to flirt, and more specifically, how to flirt in your feminine energy. And because I know many of you are doing a lot of texting and DMing, I am going to break down what feminine flirting can look like over text. So if anything resonates with you, amazing. Take what you want and leave what you don't. All right, so let's dive in. But before we talk about flirting, I want to set the foundation for you because I want you to understand what being in your feminine energy actually means, because I don't think it's what most people think it is. And there's a really big disconnect from what I'm seeing online with what being in your feminine actually looks like. Because it's not just about, acting soft, and it's not about being passive. It's not about being weak, and it's not about becoming somebody you're not. Feminine energy is about how safe, relaxed, expressive, and connected you feel within yourself. That's it. It's an internal state. It is, like it says, energy. It's that feeling of being so grounded in who you are as a woman that you're not performing for anyone. And this is where flirting, I think, gets confusing for a lot of women because we're really not shown and we don't have any great examples of how to flirt from that place. We were taught more to manage the interaction, which can cause us to spiral sometimes if we stay in that energy, or to say the right thing so that, we don't lose him, or to come across a certain way, or to figure out what he wants and be that. And when you do that, you're not in your feminine energy. You're in your head and you are performing. Remember, feminine energy is an internal state about being grounded within yourself. It's about being in your body and being present. Flirting in feminine energy is not about winning someone over. It's about sharing your energy with the other person. Quick pause if while you're watching this, you realize this is the deeper work that you've been missing. I will leave my book a call link in the description below so you can book a free relationship call with me. We can chat, see where you're at, see where you want to be, and see if we're a good fit to work together. So if you're a woman who's ready to naturally attract the relationship and life you desire, feel free to book a call with me below, and I can't wait to chat with you. So here's the reframe I want to give you, and this is the one that clicked for my client when I said it. Most women approach flirting like it's a performance. They're trying to manage the interaction, trying to say the right thing, trying to come across as interesting, funny, mysterious, trying to get a specific reaction, trying to control whether the man likes her. And here's what that looks like on the outside. You're stuck in your head, so you're starting to overthink everything. You're wondering, did that come across okay? Or was I too much? Or maybe I wasn't enough? Should I wait to respond? How long should I wait before I send him what I want to say? Or is he vibing with me? Does he like me? That is not flirting from your feminine. That is anxiety about the situation. Feminine flirting is an invitation. It's not a performance. You are not trying to win him over. You are creating space. You're creating space for tension, for curiosity, for warmth, for him to want to step toward you. Because a man that's in his healthy masculine energy, he will come towards you. Because remember, healthy feminine energy is very magnetic. It receives, it draws in. So here's the difference. A woman who's performing asks herself, what do I say to get him to like me? Whereas a woman in her feminine asks, how do I stay connected to myself while allowing the attraction to build? She already knows she's a catch. And that changes everything about the way she flirts because she's not convincing. She's simply being, and that energy is so magnetic. All right, so let's get a little technical and practical here. What can feminine energy flirting look like in real life? The first thing is eye contact. Your eye contact is so powerful, and it's one of the most powerful forms of nonverbal communication that you have. So warm, soft, the gaze held just a moment longer than normal, not a stare, but an invitation. You know, we don't want to be like, hey, how you doing? Talking to people kind of creepy. We want to be able to let ourselves relax, stare into their eyes. There's a reason they say the eyes are the windows to the soul. This alone communicates, I see you and I'm open. It's one of the most powerful flirting tools that you have, and it requires 0 words. The second thing is a genuine smile. Now, not a polished smile, not a curated smile. We don't want a huge smile where it's like, cheese for a photo. We want a real smile, the kind that reaches your eyes. Remember the whole smize era? We want your whole face to light up because we want you to feel happy from the inside out. And so that's why a genuine smile can be so powerful because it doesn't require any words again, but the other person will know if it's genuine and it lets them know that you're having a good time. So a little note on this, a lot of women have a nervous laugh when there's a lull or a pause in the conversation. Now I know because I was one of those women. I felt like I had to fill the space at all times. I didn't like any silence or any lulls in the conversation. I thought, perform, make sure everyone's doing okay, fill the space, don't stop the conversation. And this was not just in romantic relationships, this was also in my platonic relationships. I was just so afraid of the quiet. But when you learn to sit in the pause and get comfortable in that silence and not fill the space with anything extra, it kind of lets that tension build. And that's where you can enjoy a nice smile or maybe grab a sip of your drink nice and slow or give some extra eye contact. And so getting comfortable in those pauses is such a great way to flirt, to let them know like, hey, I don't need to fill all this space with sound. Like, I'm so happy just being in your presence right now. The third thing here is playful teasing, light and warm teasing. Okay, we're not roasting anyone. We're not being overly sarcastic. We're not making anybody feel bad or pointing out all their flaws. We are simply being playfully curious and honest. So that can look like, here's a small example, but maybe he's telling you some big story about this big risk he took. Maybe, doing anything from skydiving to something in a business or whatever it is. And you can simply respond with like, oh, you sound like trouble. Just something that's kind of like a little ego boost, something that's like, oh, I think she likes it. It makes it so endearing. And so just having those kind of responses, it's reassuring to like let them know, okay, I'm liking your story. So we have to communicate with them in a way where they understand like, oh, okay, they're acknowledging me, they're into this, like I'm doing good here. You can also tell him maybe of like a fun quirk he has, said with smile, with warmth, and with 0 edge, because this creates more tension and that tension really creates that attraction. So with my husband and I, this was one of his favorite things about me when we first started dating, okay? And I love playful teasing. I think it's so much fun. And he has a great sense of humor, and that's one of my things that I really wanted in a man. I wanted someone who had a great sense of humor. So this was such a good way for me to gauge his sense of humor and if he kind of liked the banter. And this allowed the tension to continuously keep building up between us. And all I was doing was just telling the truth in a playful way, whether it was that he couldn't parallel park or that he always arrived wet because he always had just jumped out of the ocean, but he found this so endearing about me. The fourth thing you can do is receive compliments. This one trips up so many women, and I've made a few videos on the art of receiving, so I highly suggest going back and watching one of those because it is so important, especially when we are flirting, getting to know, chatting, and having conversations with a man that we're interested in. So if a man compliments you, what do? Do you deflect it? Or do you say, oh, stop, this old thing? Or do you immediately try to compliment him back? That is not feminine energy. A woman in her feminine, she receives. If he compliments her, she'll look at him, she'll smile, and she'll say thank you and let it land. And it's so attractive to men because it signals, I believe I am worth being complimented. And that confidence is so magnetic. It's not nervous energy. It's not rapid fire talking to fill the silence. Slow your speech down slightly. Let there be pauses like we were just talking about with the nervous laughter. Allow the tension to exist without rushing to fill it. That silence really helps build that tension, which increases attraction, and that's really where that chemistry lives. All right, now let's talk about texting because I know it's so hard when you take out all the nonverbal communication, all of the facial cues, all the everything, and you put a screen between you and the other person. So I know this is where it gets so difficult. You can't use your eyes, you can't use your smile, you can't use your body language, your energy, your presence in person. And so a lot of women can either go more silent and dry, trying not to be too much, those one-word responses that kind of kill the energy, or they can go into overdrive, sending paragraph after paragraph, trying to keep the conversation alive. If you do either of these two things, it's more about you managing the outcome rather than you actually experiencing the connection. And that's where we want to get you to be. Here's what being in your feminine energy and flirting over text can look like. Keep it responsive and not reactive. I know that a lot of anxiety can build through text message, especially if there's lulls or, long pauses in between texting back. But feminine texting, it responds with warmth and a little playfulness. It doesn't react with anxiety. So you don't need to jump to the phone the moment he texts, or you don't need to craft this perfectly polished response for 40 minutes. You respond when it feels natural to you from a grounded place. Here's where you can really pump up the playfulness. And so I like to say when we are conversing online with anybody, we kind of need to turn it up 10%. We call it dinner party energy, but it's just because when you take away all the nonverbal cues, the in-person energy, the smile, the eyes, all of that, it's really hard to understand or see if a person is interested or liking the conversation. So just think of that dinner party energy and you can just turn it up 10%. But this is where you can really use your playfulness and have a lot of fun. This is also a great opportunity to practice that light teasing. And this playful teasing can look like saying something like, oh, you definitely just made that up, or okay, but that's actually really impressive. And when you're texting, don't be afraid to add emojis. Now, don't go overboard, but this is why emojis were created, to convey emotions. So if you're teasing, you can insert a little wink face or a little side smile, or maybe, they compliment you and so you send them that cute little side smile. When my husband and I, we were first texting way back when we were dating, he would always send me the nerd glasses guy, and I thought it was so cute and charming. So I'm like, oh, because he's a good looking guy who's super confident, who is very smart, has an amazing job, and so it's like him sending the nerd glasses. It's kind of that self-deprecating humor, but in such a cute way, not in a way that would make me think any less of him. So of course, this isn't just one-sided. You need to also receive well over texting too. So if he says something funny or sweet, let him know it landed. A simple, okay, that was actually good. Let him know you're listening and you're engaged, or, you're making me smile over the phone, stop it, or something like that. It's just cute, but it's letting him know, hey, I'm really enjoying our conversation. I'm having a lot of fun. It rewards him for his effort and it gives him a reason to keep going. Many women think that they shouldn't let a man know that she's too interested, and it becomes so fear-based. So she filters herself and doesn't even acknowledge his effort. Don't be that woman. And here's a really important thing about texting in your feminine energy. You are not trying to keep the conversation alive through sheer force of will. If the energy drops, let it drop. If it comes back, it's meant to come back. A woman in her healthy feminine energy, she does not chase a conversation. She stays warm, she stays open, and she trusts that the right man will keep showing up. You have to remember, you're not the entertainment director. You are the invitation. And one more thing to address here, because my client asked me the same thing. She asked, what do I do when I feel myself slipping? Because that's totally normal, okay? It's okay to slip out of the feminine energy, but also want to get back there. She's like, when I feel myself starting to chase or overthink or perform, what do I do then? And I simply told her, notice it. Remember, awareness is so powerful. Notice it and come back to yourself, reground yourself. You can lose your feminine energy when you start to do that shape-shifting, trying to become what you think he wants. When you start overperforming, people-pleasing, or pretending to be okay with things that you are just not okay with. When you abandon your own experience in this whole conversation to manage his. And when you're in that moment and you realize this is happening, just come back to this one question. Ask yourself, am I experiencing this moment or am I managing it? If you're managing it, just pause, take a step back, take a breath, and let go of the outcome. Remember, you are not trying to win him. You are sharing your energy with him. And if your energy is not a match for his, that's okay. That's information. It's not a failure. The right man for you will feel your feminine energy and want to move towards it. You will not have to convince the man who is meant for you. And above all else, have fun. Sometimes we just take ourselves way too seriously and we forget that we need to have fun and play and be excited. So flirt in a way that makes you feel like you're having fun. So your journal prompt for today is to think about how you typically show up when you're interested in someone, whether it's in person or over text. Are you experiencing the interaction or are you trying to manage it? Where do you feel yourself performing instead of being? And then bonus question here, you can ask yourself, what would it look like to flirt from a place of already knowing that I am worth pursuing? Because that is the woman who is magnetic. Not the woman with the best lines or always knows what to say, but the woman who is so grounded in herself that being around her just feels good. That is feminine energy, my girl, and that is already within you. So let's bring it all home now, okay? So feminine flirting is not performance. It's an invitation. You are not trying to win anyone over. You are sharing your energy warmly, playfully, openly, and allowing attraction to naturally build. In person, that can look like eye contact, a genuine smile, being playful, having that teasing moment, receiving compliments, and slowing down. Over text, be responsive, not reactive, stay playful and light, don't overgive, receive well, and never chase the conversation. And if you ever feel yourself slipping out of that feminine energy, just come back to the question, am I experiencing this or am I trying to manage it? All right, that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. If this resonated with you, please like and subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. And if you found this video helpful, please share it with another woman who you feel needs to hear this today. And of course, if at any point you realize you don't want to do this work alone and you're ready to go deeper and become the woman who naturally attracts the relationship and life you desire, I will leave my book a call link in the description below so you can book a free relationship call with me. We can chat, see where you're at, see where you want to be, and see if we're a good fit to work together. All right, you guys, and remember, self-love isn't optional. It's a foundation for the relationship and life you desire. I'll see you in the next video.